Welcome to Let's Automate It with Robin, AI and automation for non-techies. What you're seeing on my N8N canvas today is a cold lead generating system. What it does is it's going to scrape Google Maps based on information or a search query that we put into Google Maps. It's going to generate an icebreaker email, an outreach email that's going to be hyper-personalized to suit the company we're reaching out to, where we're proposing our services. And then it's going to queue that up inside an email tool. In this case, we're going to use Gmail. And this is all going to happen on autopilot. So before I go any further though, I do want to mention this is going to be a slightly more complex build. So if you are new to N8N, I might be going through this one a little too fast for you. There's a lot to discuss in this workflow, and I don't want it to drag on for hours and hours and hours. So if you are brand new to N8N, this may be a little bit complex, a little bit fast for you. By all means, go and check out our channel. We've got intro courses on how to get started with N8N. We have courses that talk about Google Sheet nodes, which we'll be using today, about Apify nodes, about HTTP nodes. And we're going to be using these nodes inside this workflow. If you're not quite sure, if you can't keep up, cruise through our channel and get yourself up to speed and come back and check this out. Also, this entire workflow that you see on the screen, including AI prompts and everything else, you will find in our community, in our Let's Automate It community. Here it is here. And once you've joined the community, you can jump into the learning phase, into the learning section, click here into N8N automations. And within here, you're going to find all the automations that we've covered in this channel and more, broken down into categories like this. Here we have one for lead generation. And if you click into these, you're going to find the prompts, the JSON that you can just paste into N8N, any other resources that make sense to help you in your N8N AI and automation journey, you'll find in there. And this automation that we're talking about today, you'll find in there as well. So let's get started. I'm going to push the play button. I know this is quite small. I'm going to zoom in a moment. I'm going to push the play button right now, and we're going to see this work. So first of all, let me jump into my Gmail, and I'm going to jump into my Gmail account here because I think I need to clear it out first. So give me a second. Yeah. So I've been doing some testing, obviously. So I'm just going to discard all of these drafts here. So there we go. Just so we can run something from scratch, I'm going to come back here and we're going to test this workflow. So I want to show you what's happening. And I've pinned some data so we don't have to wait for scrapers and AIs and things to do their job. But essentially, we've already scraped Google Maps. We're updating a spreadsheet, which is going to act as our database of leads. Now we're busy, this little spinning icon here, we're busy creating icebreaker emails. In fact, I can see I didn't pin this one. So the AI is actually at work right now, creating icebreaker emails that are unique to every single customer we're going to, or every single potential lead we're going to be talking to, including a subject line. We're going to get first names here. So now we're busy updating the database with the email we've been created. Okay, and now we're busy compiling the email and writing it to Gmail. So there we go. Let's go have a look at our Gmail drafts folder. It's going to refresh here. And here we have it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mails. It was a small run. And this is reaching out to plumbers. So let's open one here. There it's found an email address. Hi, Sarah, Jeff Plumber's reputation for Swift, etc. It's got a signature in there for me. Everything ready to go. And we're going to walk through how to build that right now so you can do the same for yourself. So let's dive right in. Let's move through it. I'm going to try and be relatively swift through this and assume a bit of N8N info on your side. So steps to build. Number one, we need to create a trigger form. So I've done that here. I'm using a form trigger. You can grab a form trigger here. Just go type form and grab an N8N form, and you want to get the trigger one. Go and grab that. And then what we're going to do with that one is we're just going to create the fields that we need. So we need a search term. Remember now we're searching Google Maps. I have a Google Maps brain. What would you search for in Google Maps? This is not going to suit every customer. We could potentially modify this to be searching LinkedIn, where we might search for CEOs of a business of a certain size. But that kind of search criteria is not going to work on Google Maps. Rather, we want to be searching for all the accountants in a certain area, or all the car mechanics, or whatever the case may be. So we need a search term. We need an area that we're going to do the search. That's city and country. So you need to go and pull this up. I'm kind of assuming you are going to be familiar and able to do this. It's very straightforward to get this. And then once you go into production, this will be the URL where that form will be, and you can share that URL with customers or yourself, and it'll present a form, and you'll be able to fill out the form, and the form will contain this criteria. So I've already done that. I'm going to go back into here, and I've pinned a result. Here's the result. If I filled out the form, I'm searching for the search term plumber in Cape Town. The country is South Africa. Okay, that's the result of me filling out the form. I've just pinned this in order to move things along on this workflow. Okay, so now we've passed the information over to a set node. So the set node is just getting our information ready, because what are we doing here? What we're actually doing, what is our goal of this row? This row, this row of the automation, this row retrieves the listings from Google Maps and checks to see if an email address is found. Okay, so the trigger gets the search terms. We're just organizing those search terms. Then we're going to send it over to Apify, which is just a market of scrapers, and we're going to use a particular scraping tool that is trained to scrape Google Maps, find listings, and find an email address. It's quite a powerful scraper. And then we're going to check whether we actually have been able to successfully found an email address, because we're going to get a bunch of listings that don't have email addresses. Remember, Google Maps doesn't show email addresses in a Google Maps listing. You need to, this tool is actually going and searching websites and social media and trying to find a email address. So it's not going to be successful all the time. So we use this if node to check if we found an email address before continuing. So that's what we've done. So if we come back to this set node here, all I've done here is dragged in the search term, and I've created a field called search term. Location, I've done something sexy with location here. You can see I've dragged in city, and then I've written here comma space, and I've dragged in country so that my location is actually a composite answer. Cape Town, comma, South Africa. Okay. Here I'm limiting, for the sake of this video, I'm limiting the number of results to 10. Now, if I'm searching for plumber in Cape Town, I could probably set this to 1,000, and I would come back with 1,000 results. Just bear in mind, this means that you might get timeout issues because it takes a long time to scrape these things. So just keep this number small until you've got the system really worked out well. Then you can look at scaling it to larger numbers. So this is hard-coded in here. It's not in the intake form. You could add it on the intake form, ask a question, how many results do you want? But I've hard-coded this at the moment. And then I'm just saying in English, because I'm English speaking, and the people I'm going to reach out to is going to be simpler to talk to them in English. I'm limiting this to English. So once I run this, I'm going to get this result here. I'm looking at the JSON at the moment, where I can look at the schema, and I'm going to get that result. And I needed this to be in that format so that I can pass this over to Apify. Now, we're using an HTTP node to access Apify. I'm hoping you're familiar with HTTP nodes. If you're not, jump over and watch our most recent video on the basics of HTTP node, and that's going to get you up to speed so you can follow along with that. But essentially what we're doing is making an API call to Apify. So let's head over to Apify and get that configured, get this HTTP node configured so that we can send information via API to Apify and scrape Google Maps and look for an email address. So I'm going to go to console. We've covered Apify in previous videos. Definitely go check those out. If you're not sure, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. The Apify essentially is a market of scrapers, and we're going to use this scraping tool here, Google Maps Email Extractor. I've got it on my list of my favorite actors. You may need to hunt through the store to find it, but I'm going to click into this, and I'm now going to feed this extractor with information so that it can do its job. So the information I need to feed it is this information. I need to feed it the language, where do I want to search, how many places do I want to search, and what is the term I want to search. I need to feed it that information. So not as difficult as it may sound. Apify makes it easy. You're going to need to get yourself an Apify API key, which I believe you can do here through settings. But I'm going to jump into here. I'm going to go to API endpoints. And the API endpoint I'm looking for is this one here, run actor synchronously and get data set items. So you're going to want to copy all of this. We're going to put this into our HTTP node. You're going to copy all of that up to just before the question mark. Now you can include after the question mark. That's just going to have your API key in it. But I have actually created a credential inside of N8N for my my Apify account, which means that I can use my pre-built credentials to access Apify. If you don't want to go through that, then go ahead and copy this entire URL, including everything after the question mark, because that's going to include your API key and enable you to access it. But let's do it the way I've got it set up. So just everything up to that point. Notice this is a post request. So we're going to head back over. We're going to open HTTP node. By the way, I'm sure you know now, HTTP node, search for it. There it is. There's this one type of HTTP node. We're going to go into this. You're going to select the post method because Apify is telling us. You're going to paste in the URL that we've just copied in there. I've set up my credential, so I'm connecting that up. But you could turn this off and have this as none, and then put your credential into here. Copy that full URL out of Apify, and it will do the same job. So that's confusing. You go with that. And then here, we just need to insert that JSON that we were talking about. Let me go back into Apify and show you. If we go to input and we go to JSON, here, you just want to copy and paste that. So I've done that before. I'm going to paste it in here. Let me expand this. And there's the exact JSON. And then what I've done is dragged in the search term. So yeah, I've just dragged in the search term there. So I've just gone and dragged it in. So I've built dynamically what this JSON is going to look like. And that's now the message we're going to send over to Apify. Please search Cape Town, give me 10 results, and the search term is plumber. So I've pinned this data. What does pin data mean? It means I've run this before and I've saved the data so that I don't have to run it again. So I've pinned the data, so I'm not going to run this. Just in the interests of speed through this video. This video is going to be many hours long. So I've run that. This will spin. It'll take a little while. It could, depending on your results, this could take 3 or 4 minutes, even longer. With 10 results, it's probably going to take about 2.5 minutes. It's going to spin, and it's going to come back with a set of results. And here's the results that we're getting. This is it's come back with a plumber's name, their address, all kinds of information. We get so much information. Look at this. I'm still scrolling. I get so much information from Google Maps. It's an incredible database. And I've actually been able to get some email addresses too. I've got phone numbers. I've got your social media, links, etc., etc. So that's great. Got that result. Now I'm using an if node to filter out just those listings that have email addresses. I'm not interested in if I don't have an email address because this is an email system. And if I can't email someone, what's the point? So I've got an if node. And very simply, I am looking at, let's click into schema here. Remember the left-hand side in NA10, the left-hand side of the node is your input. So I'm coming down and I'm looking for the email section, which is normally at the bottom. And we're looking for emails. I think I scrolled past it. There it is, emails. So we've had 2 results here. So I'm dragging in that kind of object, what's the word? The label for the array. And then in here, I'm looking at an array. An array is because we've got nested, these email 0 and 1 is nested under email. So that makes it an array. And I just want to check that it's not empty. Because if it's empty, it means I don't have any email addresses. I don't really want to move forward with that guy. But if it's not empty, that means I've got email addresses, time to move forward. So I've done that. I push play on that, and it's going to return 8 results. If I hover over here, oops, you just can't see it. It's outside, it's in my blue. But there's 8 results. We had 10 results from our scrape because we asked it for 10. 2 of them didn't have email addresses, so it's gone down the false branch. And the remaining 8 have come through here and are moving along. Okay. So what I like to do, I get into the habit of using a set node. That's this next node here. It's a set node, also called the edit node sometimes. There it is. I've dragged that on. And I just, every now and again, I kind of like to save all the information I've collected in a workflow into one place. It just kind of, stabilizes the workflow, or at least stabilizes my thinking about the workflow. So we're into this row right now. Let's summarize this row before I get into detail. So this row checks to see if a listing has been processed already and pushes new records to the Google Sheet. It also checks for valid domains. So let me explain that. What are we doing here? So we're going to just set the variables that we've kind of captured here out of our Google Maps scrape. Then we're going to go look at our database. I'm going to show you that in a moment. We're going to go look at our Google spreadsheet that we're using in the database. Of course, you could change that out to an Airtable or a no-code DB or an SQL database, but we're using the Google Sheet for this video. It checks to see if these already exist in the spreadsheet, because this might be the second time you're running a search for plumbers, and you're not always going to get the same results. Google Map listings are constantly shifting. So it checks if you haven't already processed this person. If those that have not yet been processed will continue through, Those that have already been processed will not be passed through. They'll stop here at this merge node. In our case, though, our spreadsheet is blank. So when it checks for duplicates, it's not going to find any because this is the first time we're running. So we should see all 8 passing right through here. So let's click into this. And this is a very simple set node. I'll go through briefly. And this is what you find interesting for your use case. So there's some things you want to know: business name, business category, street. So I've gone and kind of created a field for each one of the variables that I'm getting out of the Google Maps scrape. This is out the back of the if node. All the information. So you may want more or less of the information that you're getting back from Google Maps, and we're passing it here through the if node. And you're just going to map it on, drag your variables in. There are just 2 I want to highlight here. One is website. Now, typically website will come back here like this one with HTTPS vital plumbing. Now, what's going to happen here, if I click away from here, the next row down, we've got another Apify scraper. We're going to scrape the website of these customers in order to be able to create a personalized email. So what we're doing up here is just prepping our domains to be in a format that Apify can scrape. More on that later, but Apify doesn't want HTTPS or WWs or anything like that. So we're just stripping that out, and I'm doing that strip out right here using a regex command. Gets a bit technical, but here I basically went to ChatGPT and I said, please write me an expression that will work in N8N that will take the JSON of the website. I just kind of dragged in the website URL. I just dragged in, let me do that here. And then I took that expression, put that into N8N, and I said, listen, this expression is giving me a website as a result, but it's including www and HTTPS and all those things. I don't want those. Please write me an expression that removes all the spaces, the www, etc., etc. I did that. I don't really understand what's going on here. I'm a non-techie. It gave me this regex expression. I pasted it in here. You're welcome to copy it. And it's just stripped out everything and just given me this vital plumbing result. Nothing before or after the domain. So that's important for later on. You'll want to do that now. So that's the one component of the set node where we're processing items. The other important item is we want the Google Map URL, because each one of these listings, we need a unique identifier for the listing in our database. And the Google Map URL is unique for everyone. So this is the format that every Google URL has. If you go and look at Google Maps, you'll see that. And then the only thing that changes is the place ID afterwards. So I've gone and found the place ID. There it is. And I've just dragged it in. So I'm kind of building my Google Map URL. The rest are just straightforward. Just drag in what you need. If it's red, it means it didn't find information for that record. All the way through, and just build out what you're after. So simple as that. And then process it as I've done here. And we get our results out there. Okay, so now we're splitting it. This is where it gets interesting. We're splitting. We're using merge node, which we haven't really done before on this channel. Definitely go check out what merge node is all about, but I'm going to give you an overview right now. So we're splitting this. We're sending this information up to the spreadsheet to check if it exists. So let's go and talk about that spreadsheet. Let's just break away from the flow for a moment, and we're going to talk about the spreadsheet. We need to set it up. Essentially, what we're going to do is go to Google Sheets. We're going to create a spreadsheet that's going to have columns with the titles of every category that you want to capture. You can copy my categories like I've got here, or just your own. Maybe you don't want so much information. Maybe you want more information. So you're just going to go and set up a spreadsheet with every single one of these as a column heading. All right. So I've got one ready to go here. Let's go and have a look here. And there it is. The search phrase. That's what we searched on: business name, description, etc. And I've just built this all the way along, right through to the end. And I've just got 2 additional things in here. I've got subject line and icebreaker email. These are 2 additional column headings that when we go and create the email, the cold outreach email that we're going to use for these people, we're going to write it to the database. You probably just want to add in these two. And one other one, you want to add in first name as well. Just trust me, do this at the moment. It's going to make sense in a moment. Just add these columns in, and that will get the job done for now. I've got information in this database because I ran that demo at the start of this. At the start of this video, we ran a demo which put this information in. So I'm actually just going to delete all those rows. So we've got a blank database. So now our database is empty. So let's head over. So I'm going to assume, before I head back to N8N, I'm going to assume actually, let's go back to N8N. I'm going to pull in a Google Sheets node. And the Google Sheets node I want is the get rows operation. So I'm going to make the assumption you know how to, let's sort that zoom out quickly, come back here. Let's get that back into place. You're going to hit a Google Sheet node. And Google Sheets, you want to get row. Get row and sheet. That's the one you're after. I'm going to assume you know how to hook up your credential and such like. So I've got my credential hooked up. I'm pulling from a list. I'm looking for the name of the spreadsheet I've just created. I'm looking for the sheet. And the filter I'm looking at is the Google Map URL. That is the unique identifier. Now, if I go back to my spreadsheet, it's empty. But inside here, I have my Google Map URL column. The next time I run this is going to be filled with information, a unique URL. So it's comparing the Google Map URL that it's pulling from Google Map listings with what's already in the database. And if it finds it, it's not going to progress. If it doesn't find it, well, ultimately, we're going to write the new stuff into the database. As I say, this is blank. So we'll be writing everything into the database for the first time. Okay. So let's jump ahead. So now I've pushed it up to here, and then I pulled in this merge node. Literally, a merge node is exactly that. It merges two streams of data. That's the one you want. Let's get out of that. So what I want to do here, I want to compare the data that's coming back from my Google Sheets node. My Google Sheet node will only be returning those items that are, it'll be returning those items that are unique. Okay. And then it's also going to merge through all the items we're getting from the set node here, which is basically our Google Map listing. So let me explain that by clicking into this. So we're going to combine our two inputs. We've got two inputs coming in. We're going to combine them. We're going to combine by matching fields. The fields to match our Google Map URL. You can get that from here. Actually, I think it might be simpler to get it from here. Google Map URL, there it is. Just go and grab that. It doesn't want the expression, it wants the name of the field. So that's input one. And we're going to keep non-matches. We're going to look at the two sets of data, and we're going to say those that don't match because they're unique, they have different Google Map URLs. We're going to keep non-matches, those that don't match, and we're going to keep the input from number 2. Because this will be the new items coming through, and this is the items we already have. If they match, we don't want them to pass through. If they don't match, we want them to pass through. So if we run that, because I've got nothing in my database, we're going to get 8 items coming out. Now, if I had stuff in the database already, it would not pass through because it would compare the two data sets and see, hey, this is duplicate data, and I'm only keeping non-matches. In this case, these are matches, so I'm not going to keep them. I'm not going to pass through. I hope that makes sense. It's a great way to kind of do a record check. So anyway, we've done that. We've passed through the matches. We're now going to write it to the database. So you're going to use another Google Sheets node. In this case, it's going to be append or update row. The column to match on is going to be Google Map URL. That's our unique identifier. So that's how it knows which record to write to which row. It's going to look for the Google Map URL. And then you're just going to map in all your details here. One thing I want to note is the phone number. It comes in with a plus sign in the front of it from Google Maps, and your Google Sheet will see that as a formula. So you want to put this expression on just to strip out the preceding plus sign, so that it just sees it as a plain text phone number and not actually a formula, which a plus or an equal sign would trigger. So just a little highlight there we want to go through. Otherwise, you're going to map everything that you want into that into this node. We're going to do that. And then we're going to have another if node here. We're going to throw another if node here because sometimes I did notice, especially with smaller businesses, they often list their Facebook page as their website. And that's not much use to us. So I literally just had an if node here that says, please check if the website, just dragged in the website URL here, wherever it is. I dragged in the website URL. Where is this website URL hiding? There it is. I dragged that in and I said, just make sure it doesn't contain the word Facebook. Simple as that. Does the string does not contain Facebook. So I'm only getting domains that are coming through that are not including Facebook. So nice and simple. And so far, I've still got my 8 items pulling through. Okay. Then I grabbed another set node. Okay. And this is going to be very, very important in a moment. You need the set node. And I'll introduce a bit of a tricky concept, and hopefully I can explain it well, why we need it. This next row gets a little bit tricky. So we just want to kind of set the website. We just want to get the domain, and we want the domain without the HTTPS, without any of that preceding stuff. So I'm using the same regex expression from the earlier node, pulling it in, and I'm just mapping just the website. I don't want all this other information. I just want the website. Why? Because I'm going to send to Apify all the websites from these 8 items, these 8 listings. I wanted Apify now to go and scrape all of those websites and give me a result. Give me this the text from scraping that website. Okay, and Apify could scrape these one by one. It could scrape this one by one, but it's cheaper and faster if you use one scraper to scrape all these websites at once. So that's what this node is doing. But in order to this row, this sequence of nodes. But in order to have one scraper in Apify, scrape all the website at once, I need to strip out the website from each item and then compress those individual items, these 8 items that you see passing through here. I need to, let me zoom in here. I need to compress them into one item. And for that, we're using an aggregate node. Pull on an aggregate node, okay? And you're going to aggregate individual fields. And you want to input field name as website there, that one here, website. You can just drag it on. It will write it in here, website. And that's just going to compress all of those 8 items into one item, as you can go here, and give us a result. There's all our URLs that we want to scrape. Okay, now we're going to run another HTTP node, and we're going to run a different scraper. Let's go back over to Apify. Same process, okay? We're going to go back to my list of actors, and I'm using this fast website content crawler actor. Go and find it. It's nice and cheap. I like it, okay? We're going to look at the JSON input. This is the information I need. Start URLs. That's all I need. You can see I don't want, in this example, you don't want HTTPS or anything beforehand. This is going to represent all the URLs we want to scrape. So you're going to want to copy that JSON, and then in your HTTP node, you want to go to API endpoints, exactly the same as before. This one, grab all your information here, right up to that, and create a post request and put that JSON in. So I'm going through this quickly because we've done it already, but here's my HTTP node. There's my URL. There's my post request. Put my credentials in. I'm not sending anything else. I'm sending body. There is the JSON that we just copied across from Apify. And if I open this up now, what I've done is I've actually just dragged in this website field, and I've done something sexy with it. Now, this gets a little technical, but basically I've said, please strip these all out into a, line these up in a comma-separated list. And you can see a comma-separated list, and that's what this is doing. I asked ChatGPT to help me do this. It gave me this expression. Pause the video, copy this expression. I'm not going to dive into how it does. This is one of those technical points that if you're non-techie, just copy this. It will work because this is what we want to send over to Apify. One long list of all the websites we've got, and it's going to scrape them all in one go. So I've run this. I've got 8 results out. And if I go back into my Apify node, you can see here, that's our schema. There's the domain we've scraped. There's the result. If I go into table mode, we can say there's the domain, there's the result. And it's done it for every single domain that we've run. Oh, this is a long website. Scrolling. There's the next one and the scrape result. It's done that each time. Again, I pinned the data just so that I don't actually have to run this node and wait for it to complete. And then it's pushed it out into the next node, which is another set node. So what we're doing now is getting the information ready to send into our AI node here, where it's going to create that email address. Now, something I want to point out here is we've been collecting this Google Map URL and all this information from our Google Maps listings, and we've been passing it over one to one to one. But when we pass it through our aggregate node and our scraper, we lose that information. The information that's coming out the back end of this web scraper node no longer has all that other information with it, associated with that item that we're getting from Google listings. We only have the domain and the text. So we're going to need to, using this merge node at the end of this, we're going to need to combine this scraping data and this AI data back with all the data that we're getting from the listings. Just kind of glue them back together again. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's going to use that merge node. But for now, we're just kind of passing the website domain across with it so that we can have a way of a unique identifier to be able to link those information back together again. And we're going to use the website address for that. So jumping into the set node, go and grab a set node, and you're going to just pull in the website. There it is. Pull in the website, and you're going to pull in the text. Okay, we're just setting those items. But you don't need to do it. You could go straight out of the back of this Apify node into your AI node. But as I say, I like to set data every now and again. And now we're going to feed it into our AI node that's going to create our email for us. So I'm using a simple messenger model, GPT, simple messenger model. If you're more sophisticated, you may want to use a RAG agent here. You could use an agent calling sub-agents. You can get really sophisticated on how you produce this content. I'm keeping it simple. We're creating a very simple outreach email. So I'm going to click into this and set up my credentials. I'm messaging a model. I'm just using the GTP4 Mini just to keep prices down. You may want to use a more sophisticated model to get better quality. But let's look at this prompt. Now, as I say, this prompt will be available in the community, or grab it from this video here. Pause it. But we're giving its objective. Our objective here is to create a persuasive email about a service that is promoting an automated system for quote requests, for site visiting, for quote generation, for follow-up management. So this is a fictitious, or semi-fictitious, we do actually have this tool, semi-fictitious automation that we're selling to, in this case, I think it's plumbers we were targeting, that's going to handle all their client queries and scheduling visits and creating a quote and so forth. So that's what we're selling. We're asking it now to read the website, and we're giving it the website. We've merged in this website result. There it is. I've just kind of dragged that into here. And then we're saying, analyze and look for this. This little line was very cool. Look for the decision maker's first name. We know that Google Maps does not give you a first name of a person at a business. It gives you a business listing. But if we're able to scrape their website, we may be able to ask the AI to scan the website and find a first name so we can address our email with the first name, dear so-and-so. So that's what that little line is doing. And we're looking for a couple of other things. We want the output to be in structured JSON. So here is the JSON I'm after. We want a website name. This is important. We must pass the website name through so that we can combine our data at the end of this. This is our unique identifier. So we definitely wanted to pass that through. We want, if it finds the first name, it must give us the first name. It's going to write us an email subject. It's going to write us an email body. We've got some requirements here. It must be in HTML. I don't want a greeting because I'm going to handle that myself in the email tool. I want a simple email, and there's some bits and pieces here that we've put through. So work through this. Very important. I've given it some examples. AI loves examples. If your prompt is not power, but you have examples, that can often fill in the gap for you and get a result. So I've got a couple of things here. So I've run that now. Let's actually pin this one because I ran it earlier, and that's given us a result. Here we have a table and we've got a result. It's found a first name, Renan, for plumbing at fine.co.za. Here's a subject line, and here's an email body in HTML, and it's done it over and over again. Okay. Interesting enough here, it's found a first name as info, which is wrong. Sometimes the AIs don't always get it right, but that's what it's got here, but it's given us. So unfortunately, this means it's going to say dear info in our final email. Tweaking of the prompt probably will solve that. But there's our results. Okay, so that's coming out the back end of this now. But as I say, this section here has lost its association with these items that were coming in. So now we need to put it back together. So to do that, we're going to use another merge node. We're going to have the input from this one, where this was the last time we knew exactly which domain was associated with which Google listing. That was the last time we knew that. So we're going to use that information. We're going to put it into input 2 of our merge node because we're merging these back together. And then here is our information that we've used the AI and HTTP node with Apify to create. We're pushing that into 2. We're going to ask this node to glue these two back together again and give us the full set of data, complete now with the icebreaker and first name and subject line included. So let's have a look at this node. Jump in here. We're going to combine by matching fields. Input 1 is that node the last time we knew the data was associated. So we drag that in there. And now we also want to combine by website URL, which we've been passing through all those nodes. That's input 2. That's all these nodes. And so we're just grabbing this one here and dragging that in. And it's going to create these two input fields. And this time we want to keep matches. The last merge nodes, we were keeping non-matches. This time we're keeping matches. And we just want to smush the input together. Both inputs merge together. So if we run that, we are going to glue this all back together again. And we're going to get results out. And we are going to, interestingly enough, we're getting, you see 8 items went in, but only 8 items came out. That was because it found one of the domains, I believe. Here, this domain here has got a / subfolder in it, / Cape Town Central. So Apify can't handle that. So it didn't scrape that one. So we didn't get a result. So out of this 8, we've got 7 results. So that's why we're getting 8 coming through and only 7 kind of coming out the other side. So when we run this now, it's going to give us 7 sets of results, including this information we've done now here. And now we're just going to add this to the database. By now, a Google Sheets. The Google Map, the Google Sheets has already got all the information we needed. And so we're just going to update the information we don't have. So we didn't have first name. We didn't have a subject line. We didn't have an icebreaker email. And if we come look at here, we'll see that these are these nodes. These are these columns that you added in at the end here: icebreaker, email, subject line, and first name. We didn't have those before. So now we're just updating this database with that. In fact, let's run this up to now. I'm going to run this up to now because we haven't actually populated that spreadsheet. We've been using pinned data. So I'm going to use that pinned data. And we're just going to run this up to the end of here. This is now going to update this database. This database is going to be updated with all the information we've got from the Google Map listing. And then here we're going to update it with the icebreaker email, subject line, and the first name that we discovered through this process. So I'm just going to run this quickly. It should be super fast because I've pinned all the information. Let's see. It's checking if any duplicates exist. They shouldn't, because that was a blank table. Yeah, it's passed all 8 items through. It's updating the database. And here it's updating the database for the second time. Go look at my database. There we go. Now we can see first name. There's that email that's first name that's incorrect. And here we have subject lines and emails all pulled through. We have a beautifully populated database. That's what we've done there. Hope you guys are hanging on so far. We've got this done. Our database is pretty much complete, but we're going to go through one extra step here. We are going to see if we can find additional first names. Maybe we didn't get all the first names we wanted out of this scraping of the website. But here we're going to see if we can't get first name, by extracting it from an email address. Often an email address will be Robin at, Darren at. So maybe we can use an AI to read the email addresses that we captured from this Google Maps listing scraper and see if we can't get a first name from that. So this little step here is just kind of enriching our data. So before we do that, we actually need to pull down from our database that we've just written to. We need to pull all the records down. And if there were thousands of records in there, we only want to pull these 7 down. So I'm going to pull on a Google Sheets node, and we're going to get rows. We're going to look at our Google Map Street, and we're going to add filter. Just open this little add filter button, and you're going to be presented with this. You're going to want to look at the website column, and you just want to pull down the websites, and you're going to map in the website here. So that means it's just going to be getting the rows that are part of this particular workflow. It's not going to pull down, the thousands of records you maybe already have in that database. So let's do that. Let's test that step. And it should return all of our rows. Give it a moment. There it is, 7 items. That's just a duplicate now of our spreadsheet. That's been pulled down. Okay. Now we're gonna do a little deduplicate here. So if we go and duplicate, this is a new node that N8N put in a couple of releases ago, and we want to remove items repeated within current input. I think. Let me just double check what I configured that in. remove items repeated with current input. Now, why are we doing, you could probably leave this step out, but what sometimes happens is when you scrape Google Maps, you may get multiple listings for the same company. Maybe a company has branches or franchises, and they're all going to be listed with the same website address, but there'll be individual Google Map listings. Now, for me, I just want to email the head office. So I'm going to, I'm calling it remove branches, like different branches of a business. I'm removing that duplication. So if in my 7 listings, there's 2 listings that share the same website address, I'm going to remove those. I don't want that I don't want to send a duplicate email to people. So I'm going to just remove this step. So I'm just looking at website and I'm going to remove duplications. Don't have to do that, but it just, in a couple of my testing, I found these duplicate websites coming through. So there we've gone. I've gone through. There were no duplicates in this case because I've got 7 items coming in, 7 items going out. Now I've got an if node, and I'm just looking at the first name from here, pulling out the first name, and I'm going, is it empty? And let's just see what we get here. Okay. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to break the cardinal rule of doing stuff live on it, and I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to delete this info. I don't like it because it's not the first name. And let's just go back here. Let's see if this is going to work. Now I'm going to see if I can't pull down this data. And we should have at least one missing first name now because I've deleted that info from our database. So I'm rerunning that one. I'm rerunning the duplicates, the removed duplicates. Should still pass 7 items through. I'm rerunning if no first name. Okay, and there we go. All right, so now I've got 1 person who doesn't have a first name because I deleted out, and 6 that do have first names. Now, those that don't have a first name, we're going to pass. Pass out of this if node. We're going to pass them into this extract first name from email. This is a new AI node, I believe, that N8N has brought out. I think it's called information extractor node. That's what I've pulled on here. I've pulled on an information extractor node. And I'm just sending that 1 record into this, the one that doesn't have a first name. And I've got a simple prompt in here. I'm going, please review these email addresses. And I've pulled in all the email address fields that I got from my records here, here we go, email 1, 2, and 3. I've pulled all those in. And I've said, determine if any of the email addresses contain a first name. If found, return a JSON object with the first name. If no first name is found, return nothing. So that's what I'm doing here. So let's see. I can see these emails have got info at. So we're probably not going to get any decent results out of this. It's probably not going to give us a result, or maybe it'll think that info is a first name. Hopefully it doesn't. Should be smarter than that. So let's just, let's run that. Busy running now. AI is having a look at this data. What did it come out with? First name empty. That's good because info is not a first name. So I'm happy with that. Now we're going to go and update that first name, another Google Sheet, append or update row. And I'm just, again, using the website as the column to match on. So it knows which row to update. And I'm going to insert this new first name. It didn't find anything, so it's not going to be any updates. But if it did find something, if there was a Dennis or a Robin or something in there, it would just update that database. So this is an enrichment step. So it's updated our database with no new information, okay? But now we need to merge them back together again. You can see here I've got six records that had first names going into this node, and it's waiting now for the 1 item that went through this to see if it could find an email first name. It didn't, but we still want to put these 2 back together again. So we're using the merge node once more. Click into this. Simple. We've got lots of options here, but we're going to go to append, and we're just combining these 2 inputs. Inputs from this if no first name node and out of this. We're just going to combine those 2 together, and it's just kind of combining the record together. So now we're back to 7. We were 7, we split out to 6 and 1, and now we're back to 7. You can see the 7 results coming out of there. All right. Hope you guys are hanging on with me here. So that's what we've done at this point. And now here, this set of nodes at the bottom is extracting the first name from an email address. We've just done that. And then we've updated the sheet with the email copy and retrieved the email address, subject line, and body. So essentially what we're doing now with this group of nodes here is pulling all the information from our database. We've been slowly writing information to the database, the Google Sheet. Now it's all written. Now what we're going to do is create our email and put it into our drafts folder, or even send it if you wanted to send it automatically. But first of all, we need to get all the information out of the database. That's what the sheet node is doing. So but again, we're just filtering on website because I don't want to pull down all the detail, all the records in my database. Let's say I had thousands. I don't want to get all 1,000. We just want to get the ones we're working with within this flow. So we're going to test that setup, test that step. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong. Test that step, downloading the information we need to build our email from the database. There it is. If we look at schema mode, there's all our information. We're not going to use all of it, but we are going to use subject line, icebreaker, and first name. That's most important. Okay. Now we're just doing a double check here. Sometimes remember, we're going to be building this at scale. Sometimes the AI doesn't write a subject line for whatever reason. Most of the time it does, but we're just doing a data integrity check here. And I just want to check that the subject line that I've got from my database, that my database actually has something in this field of subject line. And if it hasn't, I don't want to send an email because I don't have anything to send. So this is just a quick check to check if the subject line is not empty, and or in this case is empty, and then it's going to come out the false branch. I could also check on icebreaker email, or I could check both on there, but I'm just running this with to check that I've got to make sure I've got a subject line. And out of the false branch, all 7 items have got a subject line. So I'm coming out of the false line into an HTML node. HTML node, there it is there. You're going to generate HTML template. That's what I've pulled on. And this is the pretty much bog standard template you'll get when you pull this node onto the canvas. It'll come pre-populated with some HTML. But I've made a couple of changes here. Okay, so what have I done here? Here under the body, by the way, if you're getting stuck with here, just copy and paste this whole thing into ChatGPT or into Claude and ask for help there. But in the body, it's the body of the mail. I've hard-coded in hi, and then I've gone first name. Where am I getting first name from? I'm dragging it in from here, from my database. Hi, in this case, it's going to say hi, Neil. Okay. Then, and the next paragraph, these little P's indicating paragraph break, I'm pulling in my icebreaker. There's the icebreaker. That's the body of the mail I'm putting in there. And then I've put my Gmail signature in here. So you could just write something in there. In fact, you could even leave this blank, but I've gone and gripped the HTML code from my Gmail signature. I'm not going to dive into that. This video is dragging on long enough, but I've created, in fact, you know what? I am going to show you that. Bear with me here because I think this is actually pretty cool. So I'm going to jump back into my Gmail. I'm going to go to compose because it's already got my signature in there. Let me just expand this out. And I want this signature. I want the HTML of this signature. Let me just highlight all of it. I want all of this in my, I want the HTML of this. I'm going to go into inspect, open an inspector here. I'm going to do a search and I'm going to search for signature. It's got 6 results here. I'm looking for Gmail signature. So I'm just going to just run through these. Oh, here we go. So it's found it now, Gmail signature. I'm just going to right click on this, edit as HTML. And I'm grabbing all of this. I've just copied all of that. It's quite long. You're going to have to drag for a while. I've copied all of this. So do the same little trick there. Let's get out of that and come back to your workflow. And then here, I've literally just here pasted that in. And if I run this now, it's going to build the email for me. An HTML formatted email that's going to look fantastic. Let's have a quick squiz. There it is. Hi, Neil, because it's pulling in the first name. How good is that? Now I'm using Gmail. So I've just gone and grabbed a Gmail node. Now, if you wanted to send this automatically straight away without checking it first, you would just go to send, send a message, and you just configure it. It would send your mail. I'm pushing this into draft because I want to be able to show it to you guys here on this video. So I've gone into, I actually forget which one it's called. What have I gone into here? Let's just escape out of that. I've gone into, I think it's called draft, resource draft. Let me just try that again. Gmail. Create a draft. I've included that one. And I'm using my Gmail node. Now, a quick note here. If you're doing bulk mail, if you're sending thousands of mail, don't use your Gmail node. Connect this with a proper bulk SMTP server like Mailgun or SendGrid or Insightly or one of those tools and integrate it that way. That's outside the scope of this process. But Gmail will let you send up to 250, I think it's 250 emails a day. And because every single email here is completely different to each one, different subject line, different body, it's going to look like human-generated mail, so you probably get away with it. But for the email marketers out there, you're probably cringing that we're using Gmail for bulk email marketing. And I want to acknowledge that. Don't use that. But if you're sending 10 to 15 to 20 emails a day, and they're all unique as they will be using the system, then you can use this. And, and sending 20, 30, 40, even 50 emails a day is going to generate you some great business if you've got a good offer and you're targeting a good audience. So I'm going into the Gmail node. Hook up your credentials. I'm going to assume by now you know how to do that. The documentation is in here. And now we're going to build our mail. So we need a subject line, or we're going to grab the subject line from our spreadsheet, which is coming out of the if node. And there's the subject line. I just grab that in. I'm building an HTML mail. If you're getting confused by the HTML portion, just do a plain text mail, and then you can write your email here and you can pull in your body email. But I'm using the HTML that we created in the previous node there. I'm pulling that in. So that is my message here. Okay. It's got my signature, everything in it already. Now here you'll notice, if we go and look at our spreadsheet, look, this particular one, we're just in the schema node. So it's looking at the first one. I've got two email addresses, email 1, email 2. So to accommodate that for that within Gmail, I am using the 2 email to be, oh, by the way, I went into add option here and there was the option to send via an alias. So I'm sending via not my standard Gmail address. I'm using Gmail, but I'm sending via another email address that I've got connected and configured in my Gmail. In order to do that, you have to click this add option button and choose send with alias. So that's what I've done here. And then there's the alias. I've got all these different email addresses and I've chosen my Let's Automated address. Then my 2 email address is going to be from email number 1. And then I'm using the CC and the BCC options to pull in the other one so that when I send this mail, it's going to the 3 email addresses I was able to extract. Now, you might get more email addresses than 3. I've only made accommodation for 3. You could have more, but you would struggle to configure it into the space. You could use commas. You could go comma, and then you could drag in your second email address. But if your second email address is missing, this comma will actually break the integration. The N8N won't know what to do. That comma will break the format it's looking for. But anyway, there we go. I've got this done. Let's go back into my Gmail here. I'm going to delete out these drafts. And we're going to finalize this test step. Now it's busy compiling our emails. We've gone and scraped Google Maps. We've written custom, hyper-personalized emails. We've found email addresses. We've found first names. And I'm just going to refresh this. And there's our emails. Hi, John. Hi, Bob. Hi. This one couldn't get an email for us. So it's just gone hi. Hi, John. Hi, Rhiannon. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Neil. So if I click into these, there's my mail. I can just send it now. I can click into this one. There's my mail. I can just send it now. And so on and so on. So guys, girls, everyone who's watching this now, what have we got out of here? We have the ability now using this system to create, let me zoom out, to be able to scrape Google Maps, update a spreadsheet, update a database, create an email address, look for first names, and then push those emails we've generated to some kind of emailing tool. We've also created a powerful spreadsheet here that we can just build over time that contains all kinds of information about our customers. We could push this information into a CRM. We could leave it here. We could use it to get some background knowledge on a customer before we met them, because we can go and look at their Google URLs. We can look up reviews, all kinds of things. This is really powerful. I hope it has been helpful for you. Please join our community. Description, the link to the community is in the description down below. Like, subscribe, do all those good things. Thank you for spending your time with me. I know this was a slightly more complicated flow. I think it's powerful, and more detail in the community, and we'll unpack this deeper in the community. Come and join us in the community, and we'd love to train you. We've got all kinds of great stuff in there, and this is just one of these fantastic flows. We've got a really great community in there where we're doing some amazing work, and I'd love to see you in there. And once, as always, good morning, good night, good day, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me. And we'll see you next week with our next video. Cheers.